Right, what we're going to show you today is a video to show how to prep leather properly. To do this correctly, you've got to remove the surface colour that's on here, because all modern leathers in vehicles, apart from the odd one or two high-end ones, is a surface coated, pigmented leather. This has had two big tears here where it's been worn, and they've been repaired from behind and bonded back together, and then that area's been prepped, but we had to do that first before we could bond those, because we had to fill as well afterwards, so that needed to be absorbent, which is what we're going to show you what this is all about. Anything that we do here at the Leather Repair Company with the training for the franchisees is done to the most impeccably high standards possible, hence why we have the Centre of Excellence here in the UK. But prepping leather is the most important and most crucial part of doing any form of repair, restoration, colour change, or anything to do with leather. If you've got a tiny little scuff here that you're going to repair for somebody, the prep work is the most important part, because you've got to make this leather absorbent. If it isn't absorbent, what's going to happen is your colour is just going to sit on the surface of the leather. If you can imagine this particular bolster here, and obviously we've not done anything to it, and we are going to show you in a second. Once I've sort of done something here, I'm going to show you in a second exactly how to prep this properly. If you can imagine leather colourant just put straight on top of there, the minute that customer gets back in the vehicle, it's just going to peel off. So you sort of look at a scenario of a car that's had the panels painted down the side and it gets stone chipped at the back of the wheel arch. You know what it's like, all the paint starts to peel back where the stones hit it, and it just peels back and it looks absolutely dreadful. That is what's going to happen here. That is basically a bodger's job that hasn't been trained properly. They're trying to do it on the cheap, but yet still charging you a lot of money for doing that. Here at the Leather Repair Company, we won't allow that to happen with any franchisee that we train. It is done to the best standards possible. It has to be prepped correctly to ensure that this surface is fully absorbent, because it has to be absorbent so that the new colourant can absorb into the leather as well as then coat the surface. If it can't absorb in, it is just sat on it, and that is just problematic for you in the future. So it is important as a technician that you get this prepped properly so that it's absorbent. Then the colourant can absorb in. It's a nice base and a bond for the colourant to adhere to, because you do not need adhesion promoters with what we do. That is the beauty of our products. They're self-levelling, they're self-sealing, they've got fantastic UV protection, and the waterproofness is just absolutely unbelievable, and the way that they wear compared to other colourants is outstanding, far better than what it would have done on the original seat in the first place, because they're that hard wearing. But it's imperative that you prep properly. As again, the beauty of ours, you do not need adhesion promoters. That is a waste of your money. It is just a gimmick sell product. As long as you prep properly, no adhesion promoters are ever going to be needed. But you need this surface to be absorbent to do the job correctly. I'm going to show you very, very quickly what I mean by that, and this will actually change colour on the surfaces. Obviously I've got my black gloves on because I'm going to be using the prep in a moment, which is a solvent based product. But if I just put a little drop of water on here, you can actually see that soaking in and actually changing colour right before your eyes. You can see that literally changing colour. Now if you were to put that on another area of the seat which hasn't been prepped, which I'll put on this bolster up here, you can clearly see it just sits on it, and it's actually formed like a bobble, almost like a sort of beading effect, and it's running off. And as you can see, it's not soaking in. But on here, it's literally changed the colour of the leather. That is absolutely perfect where you need it to be for the new colourant to bond correctly, and for the adhesion to be perfectly acceptable without adhesion promoters, because they're just a gimmick sell and you don't need them as long as you're taught properly by the correct people, which is what we do. Right, so next what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the prep work on here. This particular item is an emery cloth. It's a fine emery cloth. It looks quite aggressive, but it isn't, because it's the fine one. We've got a little piece of toweling in here that's put inside, and what we're going to do is we're going to soak that in the leather prep, and then that sort of acts almost like a sort of sponge full of the product in there, and then we're going to rub that over the surface. So this is obviously the leather prep. It's a solvent based product, so hence why I've got the gloves on. I don't have sensitive skin, but someone that's got sort of sensitive skin, that it's essential that you wear these gloves, because obviously it's going to protect you, because it's solvent, it's going to dry your skin out, so you don't want that happening. Somebody that's got like an asthmatic problem or a breathing issue, I would suggest putting on a mask, because this is a bit like sucking on a pear drop. You know, when you sort of get that feeling when you're a kid and you sucked on the pear drops, it sort of made you cough. This is the sort of thing that this does. Once you start coughing, it's going to keep you coughing. So if you've got a problem with asthma, please bear it in mind. You must wear a mask with this. So I'm going to go right ahead here and proceed and soak this up with the, put all this into this cloth, the leather prep, so it's all nicely soaked in. And we're going to show you in a second exactly how to remove the surface colour on here back to a state again where it's absorbent. I mean, if I actually splash a little bit of this leather prep onto this seat, you can see exactly how quickly that, if you see that there, oh, that's really changed the colour. That's how absorbent this is. You know, that is exactly where you need to be with this to get this correctly. This has obviously already been prepped here as the seat. So what I'm going to do now is just show you here very, very quickly how this works. You have to excuse the noise because this probably sounds quite loud where we're rubbing on the surface, but this is done to help get rid of all the grease and grime and the colourant on the surface. As you can see where I'm going over this already, this is changing colour already, and as you can see the colourant's coming off. That changing colour process is exactly where you need to be able to restore your leather correctly and for the new colourant to be able to bond to the surface, to stick on the surface and actually bond into the leather so that you do not have to use any adhesion promoters. And this is actually a much better adhesion than adhesion promoters, because all the adhesion promoters are doing is just helping you cut corners and hide, you know, dreadful errors that are in the background. This is the beauty with what we do. You've got to prep this properly. Making sure this is prepped properly is the most important part. I'm just going to wipe this over with this cloth. You can see we've obviously already been using it to do things earlier on today here. So if we just sort of put a little bit of prep on here now, I'm going to clean this area very, very quickly, and you will actually see where I've cleaned it down and that dries. There's hardly no colour coming off now because we've actually removed all the surface colour, and that'll dry very, very quickly because obviously it's a solvent base, and then I'll be able to show you very quickly on there once that's dry the water test. I mean, I think to be fair it's self-explanatory. You can see this has changed colour, but I'm just going to use the hairdryer very, very quick. I'll put it on speed 1 so it's not so noisy, and that'll dry that very, very quickly for you, and then I can put a drop of water on there so that you can see that it is absorbent. You can see this is changing colour now and going exactly like this seat is at the bottom here where we showed you and provided you with the demonstration, but that's now drying out the leather prep. The beauty of the leather prep as well is it actually softens the leather for you in the process, so it's helping put moisture back into the leather, soften it and make it feel beautiful again. But that feels like silk again now, so I mean that's drying out nicely. Once that's fully dry I can do the test on there for you. I'll do it on this little area up the top here because obviously this is still drying out, but if you put a little drop of water on there you can now see that is just soaking in. That is exactly where you need to be, and if we do a very quick demo over there, again, as you can see, it's just running off because that is not soaking in at all, whereas this is literally soaking in and changing the colour where I've done it. If we do that like that and then run down, as you can see, that is not soaking in, but it's just running off, and that is changing colour. That is exactly how it wants to be. So if you want to look at getting the most professional training there is around today in the UK, you know where to come. www.leatherrepaircompany.com, or just simply pick up the phone and give us a bell. 01482 606 864. We're always here, we're always happy to help. Thank you very much for watching the video today about leather prep.